Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to today's Christian music broadcast with Tyler Garth.
Yes, hello and welcome to today's Christian music and outreach of CSMI, Christian Songwriters and Musicians International. We can be found on the web at csminetwork.com. And I am so pleased to have Kim Deardorff with us today. Kim, are you on the line?
Yes. Hi, Tyler. Thank you so much. I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, wonderful. And I'm up at a place I think you are from, at least in the early part of your life. I'm up in Michigan, and we do have snow on the ground. So,
oh my goodness.
Anyway, it's good to have you with us. And I usually when people have a little bio they send me, it's a blurb, it's a paragraph, it's a page, but I don't think they could fit yours in less than 3 pages. I was really moved by it when I read it last fall and was rereading it today. Jesus, as you put it, you said he saved you twice. And
that's right.
It's such an example, really, of where Jesus takes us from. I think the analogy is tremendous. It's very touching and moving from a humanitarian perspective and Christian perspective of real life experience, and I'll let you tell some of that in a moment. But when I think of where we come from in our sinful state, and where we are in comparison to an almighty and holy and loving God, that He would reach down and scoop us out of really where we are within ourselves, covered in sin, and He washes us and cleans us up and pours out His love on us and helps us through. Anyway, I'd like you to tell the people a little about yourself, where you're from originally, and just in brevity, there just a little about your story, how your life started out, and we'll catch up a little later about where you got to. We got some music we want to play later too. So.
Okay, good. Well, I really appreciate you having me on. It's always an honor to be able to share what God's done in my life, and it's all for the glory and grace of God. And you're right. He has. We all have the opportunity for God to rescue us from our sinful self and to cover us with the atonement of Christ and to allow us to share in His glory. And I had a humble beginnings. I was found in the garbage in Seoul, South Korea, in 1964, not right after, but a few years after the war. And there were just hundreds and thousands of orphan babies that were abandoned, and I was one of those babies, and I was found in the garbage, and I was taken to an orphanage when I was just a few days old. They actually thought I might end up being blind because I had something wrong with my eyes. I spent the first couple of weeks in the hospital, and then the first 4 months of my life in an orphanage called the Holt Orphanage, and it was pioneered by a husband and wife from Oregon, and they saw the plight of the orphan children, abandoned children, and God impressed upon their hearts to adopt 8 Korean babies of their own, and then to actually move to Seoul, Korea, and open up the first international adoption agency from Korea.
tremendous. Wow. That is a heart of compassion. And so one day you were eventually one of those who was adopted out of that facility and taken to the United States, right? And
I spent 4 months there.
Had some difficult early years in life, but when you got into college, you had a couple people that really encouraged you at your, I think, right where you needed it. Sounds like, as with many young people, they get to college and you really hit a crossroads, all the passions and pains of life are there, and all of life is before you. What do you want to do with life, and how are you going to let that past affect you? And some people encouraged you, and I noticed that one of them discovered your as well as talents on the piano, and encouraged you to start playing for a college group that traveled around some. Was that now? Let me tell the others. Maybe you wouldn't tell them this, but I read up a little bit on you that you were playing the piano at 3, and by 5 you were writing some of your own music. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I grew up in a small town in Michigan, and I didn't grow up with radio or TV. Of course, we didn't have the internet back then or video games, and I basically had an old upright piano that was falling apart, and we had 10 or 15 records at home, and mostly of hymns. And my mom said that I started picking out melodies off records when I was 3, and by the time I was 5, I'd spend hours just sitting at the piano, just trying to figure things out. I'd listen to the notes, and to me, it was an amazing sound to be able to hit notes on the piano and listen to them ring, even on that old upright piano that was never in tune. For some reason, it just fascinated me. And growing up fairly isolated from the rest of my friends, or just kind of out in the country, music was one of those things that I feel like God brought into my life, or gave me a passion for, that really one of the things that brought peace to my childhood, because I grew up in a fairly I'd say abusive. It was somewhat abusive emotionally and physically experience, and music was one of those blessings that God placed in my life that really gave me peace.
It almost seems as though God reached out to you through music and gave you that place of solace, that in a sense, for a small child, especially, probably somewhat of an escape, but proved to be a blessing to you later. Well, I know those are delicate and tender, difficult, maybe in some way, memories, but it does give the listeners an appreciation, I hope, for how deeply woven into the fabric of your very being the music is for you, especially as a believer. And in fact, I guess if that was something, a way in which you felt like your Heavenly Father was communicating, or you were communicating with Him, our piece of music that you sent me some time ago, actually, is called "This Is My Father's World." I think that's just so appropriate, and I'm going to let the listeners hear that now, and then maybe we'll just talk a little more about that afterwards. Here it is.
Okay. Thanks. Wonderful.
Wonderful. And you can really feel the emotion or the move of the Spirit in that. And so, is most of your is much of your music hymns, or did I just happen to stumble on just one of them that happened to be a hymn?
No, the majority of things that I record are hymns or worship songs, and it's just because it's what I grew up with. It's the kind of music that brought healing to my heart, and I believe it connects with me emotionally, and it also proclaims the glory of God. And I want to be able to use the talents or the passion for music that I have to just share about the glory of God.
Amen. Well, I am very much a lover of the hymns, and the Lord has helped you to meet with some, I always hesitate to use the word success, but I guess it has helped you to meet with some success in a music career, and has opened doors for you to play in a number of venues. I'm just trying to scan down through here again and read some of those off. That's well, and I guess somehow that started. I guess we should go back and get into how that started. But I want I want other listeners and any other CSMI artists to hear this, and other people in the Christian music industry to hear this. That the hymns, they're still speaking today. They're still blessing people, and I'm thankful for other music, but I just can't move away from them altogether. But back in college, I'm going to backtrack just a little from where I was headed, but back in college, you had someone who encouraged you to come play with a college group, and somehow that led into other venues in which you were able to express yourself through the music. Yeah. How did that occur?
Well, I'll kind of go through this really quickly, but I was encouraged by one of my college professors, and actually, I never actually finished college. I went to college for 2.5 years, and I discovered that I determined that I wanted to be a music major in my junior year in college, and I was told that I wasn't going to be able to because I didn't really grow up with a foundation, a classical foundation in music, and I was still lacking in a lot of different, a lot of knowledge, just basic knowledge of music, because I mainly learned how to play piano by ear. But that led into me moving to Texas to a small Christian college just south of Fort Worth, and I was invited to be part of starting a recording studio back in the mid '80s in the small Christian college, and it allowed me to start learning how to do recording and production, music engineering or audio engineering for different local artists and groups there at the college, and along with playing and producing my own things, and that small little studio. We had a couple multiple Grammy Award-winning kids that actually came through that small little studio that went on to, be very successful in music. I just thank God for the opportunities. I always ask God for wisdom. I always ask God for a direction in my life, and my life isn't without periods of time where I struggled to find my place in this world, I guess you would say, my purpose and my identity. Obviously, I struggled with my identity a lot throughout my life, not knowing who my parents were. But yeah, God's allowed me to do a number of really fun projects. Mm-hmm. I ended up moving to California, and I started learning how to do audio for radio, TV, and film. And I spent 5 years in Southern California, and had an opportunity to. My first project to work on was a $5 million animated film, and I was able to do all the audio recording and mixing for that. And that opportunity led me to get a head audio sound design and production appointment at one of the top recording studios and film houses in Orlando, Florida. And from that job, my first project was a commercial for Walt Disney World, and I ended up working on over 100 projects for Walt Disney alone, and I had the opportunity to actually, write and produce some music for some of those projects.
Now, when you say that you had an opportunity to work on those projects, are you talking about writing music for them, or playing the music for them, or just being a part of the engineering? Music engineering of that. What part did you play in those things?
Well, mostly I did the audio engineering, mixing, recording, and that kind of thing. Right. But occasionally I would get requests and opportunities to actually do the writing and producing of the music. So it gave me a lot of ways to connect with music industry people that I would have never had, before. And again, I just credit that to God's leading in my life and opening up those doors, and also for giving me the wisdom to be successful, because I've struggled my whole life with self-worth and doubt and self-confidence. And I'm thinking a lot of people, if they're creative and they're wanting to share with the world, the creative spirit that God's put in their heart, sometimes we struggle with self-confidence, and I always try to make the main focus of anything that I do to glorify God and to give God the credit for allowing me to be a part of any successful thing that I get to do.
Right, and I've noticed you got to work not only with companies like Walt Disney World, but also the Discovery Channel, ABC, SeaWorld, NASA, Hard Rock Cafe, Sony, Warner, BMG, and a number of others. And somehow in all that, you also were able to actually play and or speak rather at some for the chaplains for NASCAR. They have in the NASCAR Nationwide Series they have a Christian ministry that goes on with all that, and the Lord's opened doors for you to speak at some of those and or play at those, or later in my life I had an opportunity to, my story was actually featured on the largest Christian concert tour called Winter Jam, and I actually traveled with a Christian group called New Song, and we did 73 cities in 6.5 months. And out of that, I met the chaplain for one of the chaplains for NASCAR, the NASCAR Ministries, and he invited me to speak at one of the NASCAR chapels and share my story. So that was an amazing opportunity. And in fact, that's the name of your website, www.mystorykim.com. Just thought I'd throw that in, seeing as you mentioned the opportunity to tell your story. And that's where they can go if they want to hear more of your music, more of your testimony, or find out where you may be ministering. Okay.
Yeah,
all
that's
on
right.
that site. www.mystorykim.com. Strongly urge anyone listening to check that out. But, there's something else that's near and dear to your heart. I noticed there's a couple of organizations that you try to help out with. Let's see. One is the Voice of Hope, if I got that right, and then you also still work closely with Holt International, which I thought was seeing as that's where life started for you. And did you want to give a word for either of those? We've got about 5 minutes, and then you can also just tell us about that, and then give us your heart's message to people, and we'll wrap it up in a few minutes.
Okay, well, like I said, later in my life, I was about 45 years old, and I got an opportunity to be the representative for Holt International on this music concert tour. And, they've been going for over 50 years now. They were the first international adoption agency, and now they're the largest international adoption agency, and I think they're in like 9 or 12 or 13 countries. It kind of varies sometimes depending on the adoption regulations, goes up and down. But they're a tremendous organization. They still are leading in adoption and finding homes for abandoned children all over the world. And they run their offices out of Eugene, Oregon. And a lot of the people that are running the organization now are children that were adopted through their efforts early on, and it's just a tremendous. I mean, I always had a dream of working with that organization, even as a little child. I thought, well, if I ever have the opportunity, I'd love to work with Holt International, and God gave me that opportunity, and it was a tremendous blessing. We helped, find sponsors for 5,000 children during that 6-month period, and it's just an experience I'll never forget and always be thankful for.
And there was also another organization called Chosen International. You partner with them. You want to tell us a little about that, or did you also just mention them and I missed it?
Well, no, Chosen International is an extension kind of Holt. It kind of addresses adoptees that are have grown up or are growing up and trying to wrestle with their abandonment and their identity and purpose, like everybody, like every human being. They just have an extra layer of things that they have to process, and they do conferences or had done conferences every year. They're also out of Oregon, and I was invited to speak at their conferences. And again, it was Cindy Bigelow is the director, and she just has a tremendous heart for children. She has 2 adopted children of her own. So I just like to encourage people to check them out too.
Wonderful. And, people listening, they can go to that website again, www.mystorykim.com, and might want to have you schedule you to come speak and minister at the church, because they're obviously going to get some beautiful, beautiful, moving music along with a moving message. And I'd also like to mention myself, by God's grace, we had the wonderful privilege of adopting a son. Our one son is adopted, and we adopted him at birth. We were there at the hospital, and then he was ours, and we're so thankful. And to have several foster children, so we're very thankful for the move of God that's on your heart in these areas of adoption and orphans and so forth. Is there a place you're going to be? Where's the next place you're going to be ministering coming up? Do you know? Sometimes. Well,
I have an event coming up here in Brentwood, Tennessee. It's a prayer breakfast at the Brentwood Baptist Church, and also just several local things, and we're working on some other options or some other appointments in Charlotte and in Memphis.
Wonderful. And if they want to know the exact dates, times, locations, they can go to your site. And again, I want to thank you. It has been a great blessing to have you on. I must admit, I have a little bit of frustration because really, I needed an hour and a half, maybe 3 hours, to really talk this whole thing out with you and get everything out to the people and let them hear it all. But that's what we have was 30 minutes. We're thankful for that. And Lord bless you, Kim, and thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tyler. I really appreciate everything you're doing, and God bless you and your family.
All right.
Thank you for listening to today's broadcast, Today's Christian Music. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. For more information, you can email us at cwnnashville@gmail.com or visit our website at csiNetwork.com.
You don't have to fear.
If you own a small business, it's not a question of if some hacker is going to attempt to attack your company. It's a question of when. Let cyberpolicy.com keep you safe. CyberPolicy is the first end-to-end solution that combines cyber planning, security, and insurance. With CyberPolicy, your business will be protected against cyber attacks for as little as 40 cents a day. Visit cyberpolicy.com today and get a quote in just 4 minutes. cyberpolicy.com.
Are you ready to lose those love handles? Do you work hard to stay in shape and eat healthy, yet you can't get rid of stubborn fat? Now there's a clinically proven way to help you look slimmer without surgery or downtime. It's called Sculpture. Sculpture's innovative procedure destroys fat in just 25 minutes with visible results as quickly as 6 weeks. Sculpture sounds amazing, right? Check it out for yourself by clicking on the banner or go to goodbyefat.com.